Hello, this is June Edwards for Senior Topics, and this is for the week of July 11th and 12th. I want to say hello to everybody. This is a hot Sunday. I recorded this lesson about 2 hours ago, and I kept getting knocked off the air because of heavy internet usage and I think rolling brownouts making the network not work very well. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to get through this time. Let's start with the calendar themes for this third week, and we'll start on July 12th. Paper Bag Day. The paper bag manufacturing machine was patented on July 12th, but I don't know what year. Also on July 12th, the British pottery designer Josiah Wedgwood was born in 1730, and he's the one that came up with the baby blue ceramic ware that had white Grecian and Roman figures on it that was so popular in Europe and colonial America and is very valuable even today. Also, on the same day, July 12th, the American philosopher Henry Thoreau was born in 1817, and he had a back to nature movement and wrote a popular book about that. July 13th is Barn Day, and you can look at the barns that are still around that are red or white or yellow, maybe some other colors, tan. The ones in the Pennsylvania Dutch area, a lot of them have hex signs in the eaves of the barn. Many people have bought the barns and remodeled them into homes, but have tried to keep the exterior intact. So this is the day to think about barns on July 13th. It is also Go West Day. If you're going to go west from here, you're going to hit the Pacific Ocean, and it's a great day to be at the beach. It's about 20 degrees hotter than inland where most of us are living. It is National French Fries Day and also Barbershop Music Appreciation Day. And I was in the Sweet Adelines group for the ladies, and I love the close harmony in many of the songs, and it's helps you remember a bygone era of beautiful music. July 14th is Bastille Day. That's the French Independence Day for them. Woody Guthrie was born on July 14th in 1912. He wrote, "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island." Oh, yeah, I know that you know the rest of that song. Very popular. And he rode the rails and took his guitar and composed music. He was a singer and social activist, always stood up for the poor man during the Depression era. It is also Mac and Cheese Day, uh, Beware of Sharks Day. If you're out there in that ocean swimming, there's always the possibility a shark might come by. And Sister Cities Day. Perhaps the city where you live has a sister city in Japan or Mexico or the Philippines or some other part of the world. July 15th is Cow Appreciation Day. I think we all appreciate our steaks, our hamburgers, our pot roast, sirloin tip, and round and filet mignon, and milk and dairy products. I think we all appreciate cows. The first Boeing 707 jet flew in 1954. I didn't realize that the jet engine was that old, but that's when it first came out. You hardly ever see a propeller or what they call a prop plane anymore unless you're in a real teeny tiny little airport, maybe over in Fullerton, at the Fullerton airport, sitting in their cafe and watching the little business airplanes come in and out. July 16th, the anniversary of Apollo 11 lifting off on its manned voyage to the moon in 1969 during the heart of the Vietnam War. I remember how hot it was We're all gathered around our television sets and keeping our breath bated, watching as Neil Armstrong took his first step on the moon. Heading back 250 years before that, almost 200 years to the year. In 1769, the San Diego Mission was founded by Father Junipero Serra, and that was the going up into California, the state of California. July 17th is when Disneyland opened in 1950. And I have a friend who was a very little girl, and her father, who is a doctor, got her tickets, and they went in the first week. And I remember the little ticket booklets. I went probably a year or two later, and I remember those booklets and how I'm going to warn you right now that it is very hot outside and the networks are not working that great. And I've got my Ethernet work hooked up. If I pop off, I will be back. I took the time to run in the other room and get myself a glass of water. Let's just try not to sweat it, and we'll do the best we can with what network energy we have. I left off talking about Disneyland opening in 1955 on July 17th. July 18th is Ice Cream Day. July is also known as Ice Cream Month, and I will tell you more about the history of ice cream next week. It does have a pretty colorful history. July 18th is also Nelson Mandela International Day, and he is the hero of South Africa for ending much of the segregation and the apartheid that was happening with the separation of blacks and whites. And the country is much more open today because of Nelson Mandela. And one more date, July 19th, Hug Your Kid Day. If you haven't got a kid around to hug a friend. If your friend doesn't like being hugged, hug a teddy bear. If you don't have a teddy bear, hug yourself. Just love yourself. And, maybe we need to do a little bit more of that these days. Okay, I'm going to move over to awesome inventions and scientific discoveries. I gave you 5 or 6 last week that were picked up from 2019, but I've got more now today. Something that's new on the radar is Starkey Livio A1, which is an advanced hearing aid. So if you have trouble hearing, I don't know the technical parts of the hearing aid, but it's supposed to be a real breakthrough for people whose regular hearing aids no longer work. So it's amazing what they can do to go into the actual brain and stimulate the auditory part of the brain. And people who could never hear are being able to hear sounds and music, beautiful music. Another invention is called the Flyte, spelled Flyte, levitating light bulb. Now I've got, light bulbs up there in my fan. I can't imagine lights levitating around the room, putting spotlights on us while we're talking. I think that would be really distracting, but we're going to have more things happening all the time. Another invention is the Verilux Clean Wave Sanitizing Wand. I like the idea of that, especially as we're trying to be more hygienic and clean. Take your wand and whatever you point it to the light, point it to your books, point it to you, and it will sanitize that area. And I can see that's going to be quite a popular invention. The fourth one that I want to tell you about is called the FlexWarm Smart Jacket. It has a little computer inside your jacket. and you program it to let it know what body temperature you want to have. And if it gets a little bit too cold or a little bit too hot, your jacket will adjust the temperature so that you are always cozy, comfy, and just right on those colder evenings. The fifth one that they've discovered is a plastic eating bacteria. It feeds on polyurethane. And, we haven't, that's not been biodegradable. So it's either been tossed into landfills or tossed out into the ocean. And I think that if they put that plastic out there, that bacteria out there, it creates enzymes that like polyurethane. And so they're going to be able to degrade it and recycle it. And that's going to really help us with our recycling issues. Another one I want to tell you about, number 6, is cloud seeding to produce snow. I remember back in the 1960s that seeding the cloud was a big deal. They were always trying to make it rain, especially in the dry parts of the West, which we still have droughts. That's nothing new. But what's happened now in Idaho, they've kept these experiments going. And in one case this past year, they had a cloud seeding operation that produced snowfall for 67 minutes. Can you imagine if we could get an hour of rain in our area here where we only got 4 inches over the whole last year? Wow, that could be game changing. Also, there's another project, number 7, a 20-year project from New Mexico. They have just completed a 3-dimensional map of the universe. How large is it? I don't know, but it's going to have to be pretty big. And they're probably going to want to put it in a special museum. It would be interesting to see that. Number 8, they have discovered what they now say is the world's largest, oldest known, not largest, oldest known animal. It was a fossil they found in Scotland of a millipede-like creature that they're saying is probably 350 million years old. How'd you like to put that number of candles on your cake? I don't think so. Number 9, they have finally been able to measure for the first time ever a zeptosecond. Have you ever heard of a zeptosecond? Me neither. A zeptosecond is 1/trillionth of a billionth of 1 second. A lot faster than that. Yep. And of course, the last one, new vaccines using RNA technology and therapies to fight COVID-19. After working on it for 20 years, they've come out with it with at least 3, possibly 4 successful vaccinations, and they that work also on the variants for COVID-19. And that is saving millions of lives, especially of our seniors. So now I'm going to switch to a different subject is the variant. And this is an article that came out a few months ago in the Epoch Times, which is a weekly newspaper I love to read. I love all their feature articles. Well, your body uses water for countless essential functions. You can live without food for several weeks, but you cannot live without water for more than 3 days. Water is not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it's not a protein, but it is definitely essential. Your body needs more water than it can produce on its own. Water is an incredible workhorse in so many ways. Every day you lose a lot of water through evaporation, elimination, respiration, and good old sweat. So here's some of the things that water can do. Fluid balance. Water helps you maintain the balance of fluids in your body. Your body is made up of about 60% fluids. And when you become oversaturated, you lose water through going to the bathroom. If you're dehydrated, your brain signals you to drink more by signaling thirst. But when you become a senior, the signals don't work quite as well. And many times, seniors, people over 60, can get dehydrated and not realize it. So it's a discipline for us to have to drink water. You're supposed to drink about half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to drink 70 to 75 ounces of water, or maybe 4 to 6 glasses of 10 to 12 ounces of water throughout a 24-hour period. What about body temperature? Water helps to regulate your body temperature through evaporation of sweat. You're overheated, you start sweating. Calorie control, it's a good one. The water content in your food actually helps you to control calories. Food that contains a lot of water, like fruits, vegetables, and soups, make you feel full quicker. And eating water-heavy foods helps signal your body to stop eating so you can control the number of calories. Digestion. Water supports your digestion and keeps your bowels going. Joint fluid. In your joints, water in the form of joint fluid acts as a cushion to help absorb shock during a fall and to slow wear and tear from exercise. Now keep drinking your water. Blood pressure. Water is a fundamental component in controlling your blood pressure. Brain fluid. Did you know that your brain is more watery than your body? It has about 73% water. When you become dehydrated, it can affect your mood and make you irritable or cranky. It can decrease your cognitive function and your memory. And it can make you more sensitive to pain. You feel pain more. If you want to feel pain a little bit less, drink your water. Who knew it could help get rid of some aches and pains? Oxygen. Water helps boost your immunity by flushing toxins from your body and ushering oxygen to all your cells. Remember, the O is for oxygen in H2O. Skin health. You want healthier looking skin? Drink up. Well-hydrated skin is plump and glowing. Dehydration makes your skin look dry and wrinkly, and water is cheaper than collagen. So here's to plumping up our skin. Electrolyte balance. Water regulates the balance of electrolytes in your body, which includes sodium, potassium, chloride, and bicarbonate. These electrolytes help regulate the function of your nerves and muscles and maintain the acid balance in your body. If you're getting too much acid in your stomach, maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe you're not drinking enough water. And another one is pain avoidance. Staying hydrated prevents headaches, muscle cramping, and sprains and strains because dehydrated tissues are more prone to injury. So keep drinking your water, and I think we're going to all feel better doing it, okay? Must be good for the computer because it hasn't bounced me off the air yet. Okay, one more that I want to talk about. Last week, we started our armchair traveling. We didn't want to hassle with having to get a ticket to a train or an airplane where you have to wear your mask for hours on end. So you can just sit back in your chair, your armchair, and relax. And we're going to travel this time to the southeast region of the United States. Now, that may include up to 16 states. I'm going to read them to you in alphabetical order. Alabama, Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and sometimes Oklahoma and Texas. So let's look at some of those states and see what we can discover as we get in our armchair and on a magic carpet. And here we go. Alabama has the International Motorsports Hall of Fame with millions of dollars worth of vehicles and motorsport memorabilia. If you enjoy car racing, this is the place to go. And it's next to the Talladega Super Speedway if you want to take in a race while you're there. Alabama also has a national historic trail where civil rights activists marched from Selma to Montgomery in 1965. It has the National Voting Rights Museum, the Slavery and Civil War Museum, and the Rosa Parks Museum. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville is also located, you got it, in Alabama. And of course, there's so many more things you can see in each of these states. We're just touching some of the highlights, but I did want to say Space Camp is also located for teenagers in Alabama. It always sounded like such a cool thing to get to do. The next state is Arkansas, which has cave tours, waterfalls, and you can pay a small fee and dig for diamonds. Wouldn't that be great to discover your own diamonds? It has the President Clinton Library and Museum in Little Rock, Arkansas, and also the Hot Springs National Park. How about Florida? And my brother-in-law lives back in Orlando. He says there's more people coming to Orlando than anywhere else on the East Coast. That is the number one destination for people who are hungry to travel after being locked down for so many long months. There is a 335-acre theme park called Busch Gardens on the west side in Tampa Bay. There's the Daytona International Speedway, the Everglades National Park. I always wanted to get on an airboat and go speeding through the Everglades and see an alligator and some of the other exotic life, the birds in Florida. Kennedy Space Center is there in Brevard County. They're getting ready for another launch at the beginning of August. Miami has the zoo, which is the largest and the oldest in Florida. Of course, Orlando has Disney World, Epcot Center, SeaWorld, Universal Studios, and so much more. Homes of famous basketball stars and many of the baseball stars who did spring training in Florida. Let's look over at Georgia. Callaway Gardens and Resort, 14,000 acres of trails, flower gardens, and butterflies. A wild animal safari where you take your cameras instead of your guns on Pine Mountain and go moose hunting. Wow. The World of Coca-Cola, located in Atlanta, with memorabilia, old commercials, robotic bottling simulations, and in the tasting room, more than 60 sodas to taste from around the world. Kentucky has the Cumberland Gap National Historic Park. Remember, that's where Daniel Boone followed an old Indian trail and found the gap to lead the people over the mountains and open up westward expansion. Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington is where you can view the Hall of Champions, and you can go to the horse farm and see these multi-million dollar thoroughbreds that are really works of beauty, these horses. You can also ride horses and ponies there with your kids and your grandkids. Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory is where they make all of the baseball bats for the professional teams, even Little League, all of the baseball bats. Mammoth Cave National Park, where you get on a boat and you go down underground through the caves, and you're wearing one of those lights on your head and a hard hat, and exploring the stalactites and the stalagmites and seeing the multi rainbow colors of the minerals throughout those miles and miles of caves. Skipping over to Louisiana, there's the Audubon Zoo with so many wonderful birds, tropical birds in New Orleans. New Orleans also has the French Quarter. Of course, we all know about Mardi Gras, but there's at least a festival a month through the summer months, the fall months, and then into the holiday season, the New Orleans balls and society. There's always costume parties, things going on in New Orleans. Louisiana has the Global Wildlife Center. You can go on safari there too in Folsom with 3,000 plus animals roaming freely over 900 acres. Don't have to go to Africa. We can find these safaris in the good old United States. And the Audubon Butterfly Garden and Insectarium is also in New Orleans. Who knew? Moving on to good old Mississippi. If you are an American history buff, there are battlegrounds and national landmarks galore from the American Revolutionary War all the way up through the War of 1812 and the Civil War. Natchez National Park in Melrose has a fully restored antebellum mansion with Civil War furnishings on 80 acres. You can go to Tupelo Buffalo Park and Zoo. Get on the Monster Bus. It's the largest zoo in Mississippi, and take a bison tour. Remember, bison is the new word for buffalo. Go on safari, look for buffalo. I mean, for bison. Whoops, got to call it bison now. Then there's the Vicksburg National Military Park, also in Mississippi, or take a riverboat ride up the Mississippi River. North Carolina has beaches, lighthouses, and mountains. 2,174 miles of trails. The Appalachian Scenic Trail spans 14 states. There's the Biltmore Estate in Asheville that a railroad baron set up in the late 1800s. 250 room luxurious castle. Yes, it's a castle in the United States. 250 varieties of roses, 1,000 azaleas, 500 types of plants, shrubs, and trees. The Blue Ridge Parkway is 469 miles of gorgeous winding roads through the mountains. Especially check out the fall colors. And North Carolina is known as the land of waterfalls, with 250 that have been counted so far. On the Outer Banks, there's a driving tour of 4 islands with wild horses, aquariums, and more beautiful scenic lighthouses. South Carolina has the Caramundo, the Fort Mill with a 112-acre theme park. It has Hilton Head Island, which is a luscious resort for fishing and relaxing on sparkling beaches. And of course, there's all those golf courses. Myrtle Beach has a music park, a water park, a theme park, and the beach. And Patriots Point has Naval and Maritime Museum. And Tennessee is known for its mountains and music. The Chattanooga Choo Choo and Hotel, you can sleep overnight on a train. And there's a model railroad museum that is one of the top ones in the country. The Grand Ole Opry and Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville and on Broadway, where up and coming country stars play their tunes and strut their stuff. There's the Great Smoky Mountains. There's Graceland, which is Elvis's mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. And of course, President Andrew Jackson's home on the outskirts of Nashville. In his day, it took 3 days to get from his home into Nashville proper. But today, you can get there in about 45 minutes from downtown Nashville in your car. How about Virginia? Historic tours and hands on tours all the way back to the 1600s. You've got Jamestown, Yorktown, and Colonial Williamsburg with live docents who dedicate their lives to living and explaining the lifestyle from 300 and 400 years ago. Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, more beautiful gardens. The Poplar Forest, which is a 4,819-acre plantation home, and Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. You have Mount Vernon for George Washington and James Madison's home as well. And then there's the Shenandoah Caverns, more underground exploring to do. And West Virginia is full of beautiful mountains and national parks. Bluestone, Gauley River, Harper's Ferry, New River Gorge, and the Seneca Caverns, which go underground 165 feet. And there's more, there's so much more. One more thing I wanted to tell you about from a person named Sheridan Alexander, who does budget friendly vacation destinations. Of course, our armchair traveling is free, but there is free fun at the beach with more than 2,500 miles of coastline in the southeast part of our country, from Virginia to Louisiana. It's one of the top beach destinations in the world, and it doesn't have to cost a dime. There's the Cape Hatteras National Seashore on the Outer Banks. A lot of it looks deserted. It's not crowded like so many of California beaches are. There's the Great Smoky Mountains. I told you about that. But one thing that's really interesting to me that goes up several of the southeastern states. Oh, before that, I do not want to forget Arlington National Cemetery, which gets more than 4 million visitors a year in Arlington, Virginia, is free to visit. You do pay a small fee for your parking in the parking lot, but the cemetery is free. And there's so much to see there. Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and many, many memorials and monuments. But the last thing I want to tell you about is the world's longest yard sale, which stretches over 650 miles and has grown to become the largest event of its kind in the world, attracting hundreds of thousands of bargain hunting road trippers each August. Attending the event is free and offers great browsing opportunities, free entertainment, and many regional attractions. And you'll probably want to purchase at least a few items. Could be an antique. Who knows? Maybe the National Antique Roadshow will catch you with your latest buy. So the world's longest yard sale, definitely a standout event as part of the Southeastern tour of the United States. And that's it for this week, folks. We went a little bit over, but there's just so much I want to share. Have a great rest of your week, and thank you for being with us. See you next time.